Jada's first guest we are very happy to share with you is Danielle Geathers. Danielle is a rising junior mechanical engineer at Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Boston, also known as MIT. Now, MIT is the first ranked university in the world, and Danielle is the first African-American female to ever be elected student body president at that school. She was recently featured in Time magazine, and I am happy to have Jaida be interviewing Danielle with us today. Take it away, Jaida.
Hi, Danielle. I'm Jaida. I'm a 7th grade student at the Jersey City Global Charter School, and the international education organization Micro Society asked me to launch this new campaign about young activists, and you're my first guest. Thank you. First, congratulations on becoming the first Black female student body president at the top ranked university in the world, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, better known as MIT. It is an honor to speak with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My first question is that I read in Times magazine that the reason you ran for president is because too many schools focus on the need for diversity without addressing the root causes of inequality. Can you please explain more about that?
Yeah, of course. I think there's been a trend for several years, and this happens on different levels, whether it's high school, even elementary schools, and then going larger with corporations, that we recruit and we're like, oh, we need a diverse student body, but we're not really thinking about what really causes the systems of oppression that result in that like unequal level of achievement. And then I think universities also need to go further in terms of thinking, once we get these diverse students on our campus, how are they feeling once they're there? So really thinking about that inclusion in the environment that our universities are creating.
All right, thank you for sharing. My second question is, as president, what are your goals for empowering multicultural voices?
Yeah, I think first representation is key. So just naturally in the fact that I came to MIT, I'm very excited to join the Black community on campus, and I was active in the Black Student Union, the Black Women's Alliance, and the National Society of Black Engineers. As president, I kind of have those connections, and I'm still a member of those groups. So I think that naturally helps with me helping increase the representation of some voices. But on top of that, I think just having a diversity, equity, inclusion mindset is very helpful for that. I think the best key is to be very intentional.
Thank you. How did you learn about MIT, and why did you choose to go there?
That's a good question. I think I always knew about MIT, but I never really thought of it as a school for me until I was in probably late middle school to high school. I think I was very interested in engineering. I like STEM. I was interested in like exploring being an inventor, and then it was really until my college counselor really was like, well, MIT is a great school for engineering, you should check it out, that I started really to dive into thinking it was my dream school.
Okay, thank you. Is your education there helping you with your goals?
Yeah, definitely. I think no matter what major you are at MIT, you really learn how to problem solve and how to think about things in an analytical way. So I think that's just really helpful to anyone, no matter what you aim to do. So I found it really helped with my personal development.
That's awesome. You started an organization called Talented 10. How is it going to help more Black women be interested in STEM and perhaps going to MIT?
Yeah. So actually, Talented 10 doesn't really try to get more Black women interested in STEM. Our idea is that there are so many Black women who are already interested in STEM, and they just need the support to get to MIT. So we were really lucky to be able to partner with a lot of groups and organizations. We were able to refer students who were interested in STEM and who had thought about MIT in the past to be in my program. So we work with one-on-one mentorship, so to help Black women across the country who are interested in STEM meet Black women at MIT who can guide them through the application process.
Great, thank you. In addition to working on multicultural issues, will you be working on other things like COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely. But COVID-19 definitely is a multicultural issue as well. I think if we look at who's most affected, there's definitely a disproportionate impact on communities of color. So I think part of that as well, obviously, as student body president, 50% of my work has been COVID-19 and making sure student voices are heard. But once again, if administration listens to student voices, what students are they going to listen to? So making sure all students are included in that feedback for COVID-19 also needs to have a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens.
Amazing. As a woman of color, how do you feel like your identity has impacted your path to president and your understanding on social movements?
Yeah, I think it definitely has had a large impact. I think growing up in a predominantly white environment, I learned advocacy really early on. I also learned about systems of oppression because I had to, whereas some of my peers kind of get to learn about it and decide when they have the race debate. So I think just growing up in that environment and really being able being supported to excel academically while also wanting to advocate and thinking about people from my community has really helped me to want to lead.
Thank you. Thank you. What were your biggest challenges before MIT?
Yeah, I think just growing up in a predominantly white environment and learning how to navigate white spaces. There's a lot of times in elementary, high school, I was kind of cornered into the angry black girl trope or just general, like the constant othering definitely can get to you.
Wow. What are your biggest challenges now, and what are you doing to overcome them?
I think my biggest challenge nowadays is definitely making sure I'm focusing on my own self care and making sure I'm not getting overwhelmed by all that's on my plate. I think I've always done a lot, so time management is luckily a skill I have, but when everything's being thrown at you and you want to say yes to all these opportunities and you also want to do your work and you also want to hang out with your friends and you also want to be a good president, it can be a lot. How I get through it, that's a good question that I'm trying to figure out currently. But I think just in general, not being afraid to say no and making sure you save time for yourself is important.
All right, thank you. How would you describe yourself as a leader, and which values drive you?
Yeah. I think my leadership style, my goal as a leader is to make sure that others can lead. I don't really like the hierarchical type of leadership in which everyone does what I say to do and is sitting around unless I gave them a task. I think I really have started to appreciate delegation, but then also expecting people I'm leading to take initiative and be comfortable leading others is something that's really big for me. Something else is like in terms of a value centered approach, it's very much thinking about people first. I think a lot of people, specifically in elite environments and competitive environments, tend to have a task first mentality, but I very much want a people first mentality. And I think the task can always be done later, but it's more important to kind of validate people's feelings.
Great, thank you. Do you have any advice for other future leaders and how they can find mentors and people to help them?
That's a good question. I think one thing that I lacked when I was younger was kind of taking the initiative to reach out to people who I thought were cool. I think you'd be surprised how many people might respond to you or willing to have a conversation and eventually even maybe mentor you if you ask. So I think being able to understand what you're interested in and not being afraid to reach out to someone, ask them for a conversation, ask them for advice, just little things like that can really project your path.
Yeah. So is there anything our microsociety schools can do to help you meet your goal?
Oh, that's a good question. I think overall, my goal in general is just to be able to make a more inclusive environment. So I think definitely just examining the micro society schools like policies and classes and making sure it's being an equitable and inclusive environment for all would help me accomplish my goals too.
That's great. So I would like to say thank you for taking the time out of your day and allowing me to interview you. Your work and your drive is an inspiration to many Black females, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for interviewing me.
You're welcome.